What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the What We Gonna Do podcast. So we're gonna jump right into this one. I sat here and I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted to say. I didn't know how to approach it. I didn't know how to go over it. But I figured it was time, as usual, to kind of have this dialogue and have this conversation on the podcast. I talk about this in my daily life and to my family and friends, but I don't think I've really just kind of hit it home here on the podcast. And I don't even know if I'm, going to hit it home today and if I even have the energy to kind of convey this message. So this weekend, obviously, there have been two shootings. It's just like, and this is not me, having to promote anything or talk about anything as far as like what I'm doing and next steps and all of that, but really just to have an open conversation on the fact that as a parent, I got to raise my daughter in this shit. I have to raise my daughter in this country, in this climate, in this environment. And it's unavoidable. Coming out of the Obama administration into this current administration, and my daughter being born in 2013, it was just like, wow, like when my daughter is really getting to that kind of, again, she's still very young, but she's understanding a lot more information, and the fact that this individual and what he represents and what he says and the communities that he galvanizes affects what my daughter has to encounter just on her daily walk. I've thought about this over the years, and I'm not a superhero. I cannot protect everyone. I cannot protect my younger sister and my other sister and my nieces and my nephews and my wife and even myself. You just have to live with the understanding of, you really never know what day might be your last and what it will be. For the majority of Americans, you'll probably leave this world due to natural causes, but for some, it'll be something else. I liked that my daughter's daycare, and this was a few years back, prior to the end of the Obama era, where, her school was a predominantly, well, I won't say predominantly black, but it was a very nice, kind of preschool daycare. And it was owned and operated by black women. Now, of course, again, there were all different kinds of kids there because of the area that we lived in. But when I would go in, they had this picture of President Obama. Prior to, us actually moving her to a different facility, they ended up taking that picture down, due to the election and all of that. They didn't put another one up, thankfully, but it felt good to see that reflection and see that image and see that family and how articulate he was, how compassionate he was. And, this is a man who said, my son could have been Trayvon Martin. And I know that while he may not have been perfect in a lot of people's eyes, he did do a lot of significant things. And him just being there is going to change the world. I believe it did change the world. But as a country, we dropped the ball. And we allowed this new administration, and we allowed someone who should have never held the highest office in the land, who should have never been able to run, to win the presidency. I'm not even going to go back through all of that conversation, but we have this individual as I refer to him as 45 or King Bob, but I'm gonna try to be a little bit more serious here because, I don't find anything funny. It's just a sickening time, a sickening 4 years. All the hate and fear that this individual spews, and all of this rise, this kind of rebirth of a community of people who had been, you know, pushed out, forced out. The country was, changing, in my opinion, in a good way. And I feel like we've taken major steps back. And this won't be a very long episode, but I did want to talk about it. But it's crazy that, I sit here and I have these conversations with my wife and I'm like, it's 2019. I'm 32 years old. And it's almost like we're reliving the past, which is sad. What these MAGA maniacs represent. And of course, people talk about, the extreme left and the far left and what that means and who's peaceful versus who's not peaceful and all of this stuff. And even today, I'm just like, man, I'm sick of it. I'm like, fuck bipartisanship, which is something that I push for, that I advocate for. But I'm like, yo, this is more important than that. Fuck working together and thinking about how we can do things together. What's right is right. This should be bigger than y'all working together. These morals and getting these bills passed. I think it's HR 8. I think there's another one. I think it's HR 8. I could be mistaken, so I apologize if I'm referring to the wrong bill as far as, gun reform and just different things that, that are up, that both sides, unfortunately, cannot agree on, as far as the Republicans and Democrats specifically. But I find myself just sitting here trying to really understand, because it makes no sense to me how you can side with this man, how you can side with this administration. I mean, I literally, cannot comprehend it. I not because I don't literally understand, but figuratively speaking, it's the most ridiculous shit in the world. I mean, it is a shit show. And it is showing some of our oldest and our worst fears, where people are feeling more comfortable. And I want people to show their face, but not at the sake of lives. It's like I don't even want to say a good and bad, These people do need to be called out. They need to be outed. They need to be found. We have a problem with these homegrown domestic terrorists and who they consider to be, their leaders. Why they're carrying out their marching orders and whatever weird and sick, twisted thoughts that they have in their head about what America should be, and America first, and making America great again, and gay rights and civil rights and police reform, whatever, healthcare for all. I mean, whatever they have a problem with, you know what I mean? Taking their guns. I don't get it. And I'm not one of these people that abhors violence. I talk about it and I know the reality of it, but the mind of these individuals, and we're not even talking about a mental health thing. I mean, we are literally talking about people who have strategically and specifically targeted places and events to literally transform lives. I mean, I thought about the fact that when these things happen, you almost erase time. You don't erase their memory, so to speak, but whatever they could have been, their children's children, so on and so forth, is gone. And it's sad. It's really sad. It's disgusting and sick how they see us when they in this country have in the past and continue to be the biggest threats to society. And y'all know the they that I mean. That we are public enemy number one. And I mean people of color and immigrants alike. That somehow we are just, dumb and violent, and that we don't deserve a right to life, to just be able to walk around, to raise our kids, to live, to exist. That we don't deserve these things. As a parent, the media and the president would have you believe in these irrational fears when there's actually near and present danger from the person you least expect that looks nothing like you've been told. As a black man, I'm not really worried about people that necessarily look like me. I'm more concerned with police officers and these white male terrorists. That at 31, 32, 30 is what I have been concerned about. That we don't get the same type of justice that everybody else gets. Comparing what we've done and what they've done, and this isn't even about that, but just I think about the access to these weapons. I think about the randomness. I mean, we talking about movie theaters, concerts, churches, Walmart, a bar. I mean, you never really know. You're just going about your daily life. But it's just a certain level of awareness. I mean, when, and I can't think of the name right now. I had it in my head just a minute ago. But when that shooting happened in the movie theater, I didn't want to go to the movie theater anymore. Because I said, damn, that's fucking dangerous, man. Like, when you're in a movie, your awareness is low. I love movies. I've been going to movies since I was a kid, since my uncle first started taking me in. You go in there, you sit back. If it's a 3D movie, you get your 3D glasses on. If it's not, you're just looking at it regularly. But you are not necessarily paying the most attention to your surroundings and the comings and goings of different individuals. And to hear that happen, and just the fact that it's possible, was just like, damn, because I think about a solution. I'm just like, well, do we put police everywhere? Because I'm not for arming every civilian. I want licensed and trained people. And obviously, again, that's another fear, is that we really have to look at police reform and the individuals that are being hired and into these positions and them being evaluated consistently. But at the time, I'm just thinking like, okay, what's the solution, man? Because that's damn near when I'm my most vulnerable. And I was just like, I'm done. And I don't mean that like it's just a thinking type of way. Even now when I go, I'm more aware of who's coming in and who's going out. And I'm thinking about exits and I'm thinking about plans and what am I going to do if I have my family with me? How can I protect everyone? Do I sacrifice myself? This is just not a constant thing, but it's a reminder that it's possible, man, for somebody to do something like that. Like, and then the church. I'm not even gonna go back through what happened, but y'all know exactly what I'm talking about with Dylan Roof. And you're talking about being vulnerable at a movie theater. At church, I'm not even looking around. I'm focused on the preacher, on the pastor. And I know at some of the larger churches, you know, they do have police officers and things of that nature, but it's just a thought that, man, stuff like this can happen. Now, of course, when you go back in time during the civil rights movement and just everything that was going on, you know, you hear about the 3 little girls and, you know, the church bombings and, you know stuff happened in the past, but again, you would think that we're far removed from that, you know, those types of things, but it's a new reality. Just knowing that your neighbor, the person that you think, again, this person who seems so mild-mannered, whatever the case may be, that this could be the person, or this could be the teenager, this could be the child that could go out and commit these things for whatever reason. That they put it in their mind that I need to go do something on a massive scale. Like I have to go do this. It's so alarming and disheartening. And again, being a father, you think more about your surroundings and the reality of your life. My daughter is 5, she'll be 6 in December, and she started school last year. And she tells me that, you know, and I think I mentioned this on an episode before, but they're doing active shooter drills. And I'm like, huh? When I was a kid, you know, we did fire drills and tornado drills. And as much stuff that was going on in the 90s and early 2000s, I never thought about having to even prepare or work on some type of routine and where to go and what to do. We're talking about high schools and middle school and elementary, just schools in general. You know, I think something happened at a daycare. You know, it just hurts to think about it. That you need to check on your siblings and you need to make sure they're all right. If you hear about something going on in their state, if you're traveling and you go out to a bar, if you're just doing your normal routine and going to the fucking store, going to the fucking mall, that you have to be concerned about these things and damn near hyper vigilant. And I'm looking at all of this stuff on social media, like the ignorance of people, even in this time, that I'm just like, yo, these people still supporting this dude. I don't know. When I walk outside, I acknowledge that there's a chance I may not make it back. I'm tall, 6'4", big, I'm black, and anything could happen. It's a blessing for me to just be able to walk out and make it back. It's a blessing for my daughter to be able to go to school and make it back safely. It's a blessing for my wife to be able to go out and make it back safely. And I was like, man, I wonder if people have, I know this, it's going to sound funny, but in all seriousness, if people have PTSD from the political process. Because you have so many people that feel a certain type of way. They believe it's all bullshit and nothing is ever going to change. But somebody puts these laws into place. Like, how do you think things happen without these different legislators? Without these votes, without these communities? You can't predict everything, but we see what's being said online and on these different little message boards, and people never take these things too seriously until it's too late. Oh, he's just a kid, he's just this, he's just that, and no. This is shit we need to call out. None of these little motherfuckers should be sitting there talking about they thinking about shooting up the fucking school. Like, it's a bunch of shit that ain't just regular conversation. You think about blowing up some shit. That's not regular. I don't care what you look like. It's like, nah. Somebody need to be saying something. All y'all tell y'all people, the young people, hey man, better report that shit. All these little social media sites got something to where you can report different things that are being depicted, images and comments. Report that shit. You could save some motherfuckers' lives, man. If you don't sit there and think that, oh, it's just some bullshit, they just saying some shit. Obviously, you got people posting with semi-automatic rifles. You got shit going on. People still going out and fucking with this Emmett Till sign, which I'm glad they're making it bulletproof, but this ain't just no little harmless like kid shit. I don't understand how people can even sit here and be like, oh, let's just like dismiss it. You guys know who you're enabling when you give them these weapons, when you take them to these gun ranges, when you push them into a certain direction to support a certain group, even though morally it's not right. But I just wish my daughter didn't have to see this. I can shield her from some things, but she asks questions and I like to tell her about what's going on. She doesn't know about, these two things that happened over the weekend, but just in general, the fact that, man, I want to make sure she comes home. I want to make sure she's proud that she's black. I don't know what to tell her about this country, though. I don't know what to tell her about her friends and their parents. I don't know what to tell her about this red sticker on the back of some vehicle. I don't have no imagination or fantasy or some type of storytelling to where I can weave some narrative that is different than the actual reality. That yes, these people don't agree with us. They don't like us. They don't believe us. They want us gone. Maybe she'll ask why one day. And I'll tell her about our history. You know, just because we breathe and just because we look like we do, it's nothing more than that. We are all humans at the end of the day, but money, race, class create these divisions. We live in these two worlds, you know what I mean? And again, you could just literally, you could brush past one of these people and never know. But they never collide, like they never kind of intersect where one gets to see the other side. I've seen, let me not even get into that, but I don't know why, they have these problems with us. And when I say us, I'm including myself as a part of the people that I could have been one of these people that died in one of these mass shootings. I could have been in one of these areas easily. And even as I sit here recording this episode in my house, I don't feel safe. Not that I'm scared, because like I say, we all got to go one day, but being here in America, I don't have no confidence. I don't have no comfort. When I lay my head and when I wake up, there's danger. And again, it's not from my black neighbor. It's not from my Hispanic neighbor. It's not the people that a lot of people apparently think it is. Like it's the grandson, and their nephew and their brother and their dad. It's not who you would typically think it is. I'll leave you out with this because this is more just, some thoughts. The positive is my daughter will get older, prayerfully. And that what has happened in the past 4 years and potentially 8 years is not long standing. That this world will turn and it will change again because everyone, I hope, comes to an agreement that these things are not acceptable. And these things should not happen. And we should not be having to prepare for these things on a regular basis. Annual, semi-annual. We should be able to go to work and come home. And our families make it home. So we'll see what happens with this next election cycle. And even just towards the future. But for now, I'm distraught. I feel bad. You look at things and you just say to yourself, these things should never happen. I don't know any of these people personally that have lost their lives or have been injured, but I have compassion for them. All right, I think that's my time. I've said enough. I've rambled long enough. Protect your family. Protect yourself. Protect your friends. Educate them. Talk to them. Tell them you love them. Tell them, to tell somebody else. Yeah. All right, y'all. That's it. Until next time. Peace.
Tell me how they sent that footage off and slept that night. I feel bad that my daughter gotta live this life. I'll die for my daughter, gotta fight this fight. Put a blank face on, nigga, let that dry. That part.